Hi everyone, my name is Tanya and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am taking part in Save the Crafty YouTuber Hop organized by Justine Hovey. I am going to be showing you how to make a very quick and easy card using stencils and embossing powders, and I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite techniques to use embossing powders. I'm using a stencil by Jelly Arts called Flower. I love the how delicate this design is, and I am using the mixed media embossing brush by Wow Embossing Powder, um, and which you can use as a re-inker as well. But you can do various fun techniques with the brush tip. You can apply it just straight onto your surface, but I'm just dabbing some on my craft mat, and I am lightly covering my sponge with the medium and just dabbing it down and making sure that all of the design is completely covered with the medium. I like using a sponge. You can use your ink pad directly on your paper, but I like using a sponge because it gives me a little bit more control over how much of the medium is being added onto the paper. So now I've got a scrap piece of paper underneath my piece of cardstock, and I'm being really careful not to touch the paper in any way. And I'm sprinkling embossing powders just in sections here and there, and just tipping the rest off onto my scrap piece of paper. And I'm going to return the rest of it back into my jar. And in between, I am giving the cardstock panel a good flick just to make sure that I'm getting rid of any stray bits of embossing powders. And again, I'm going in with a second color embossing powder and just sprinkling it here and there in places where I feel I want that color to be. And after I return the rest back into the jar, I'm going to take some gold embossing powder and sprinkling it over the entire surface. And I'm sort of swishing my cardstock panel from side to side just to make sure that I've got every millimeter of that cardstock panel covered with the gold embossing powder. And this is where the magic happens. I never get bored of this process. This is where you heat set your embossing powder. Top tip: before you start taking your heat gun, your heat tool to your cardstock, let it heat up completely for a couple of seconds. I guarantee that your embossing powder will melt faster, you will get much better results, and your paper will warp less as well. And if you're using, I'm using some pretty thick cardstock here, but if you find that your cardstock is warping, you can just turn it over and just give it a quick blast on the back as well. Because basically what's happening is when you're heating the paper, you're causing the fibers in the paper to shrink. So if you heat it from the other side as well, it sort of gets it to straighten out a little bit. So I've taken my very shiny finished panel and I've stuck it down onto a card blank with some foam tape, and I'm using a stamp sentiment from Altenew. Um, just a very simple thank you because you can never have too many thank you cards. And I'm going to stick that down as well with some foam tape for extra dimension. Um, I tend to do that a lot. Do you guys have like things that you do on every single card that you make or project that you make? I do love my foam tape. Oh, anyway, here is a bonus clip of another way that I like using my stencils. So what you can do is you can get a 2 for 1 out of just one technique. So here I'm taking some Distress Oxide sprays. I love these so much, and I've just spritzed it through the stencil. But before I clean my stencil, what I'm going to do is before it dries completely, you can either spritz the ink that's left on the stencil with either clear water with a mister, or in my case, I've used an iridescent spray just to reactivate a little bit of the ink and then transfer it onto another piece of cardstock. And this way you have two cardstock panels ready to go and to decorate. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. A very special thank you to Justine for organizing this hop. Your next stop will be linked in the description box below. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. I am so happy to hear from you guys, and I hope that you give this technique a go. Thank you, take care, and have a great day. Bye!